at the beach, one of my absolute favorite places. The beach is perfect for relaxation, fun, and exercise. But the beach can also be a dangerous place. Anyone can get into difficulties in the sea. Knowing what to do if that happens can increase your chances of survival. I will be chatting with Dave Bascombe, a certified lifeguard instructor, and Corey Antrobus, lifeguard at Browns Beach. They will share with us some life-saving techniques you can use in the water. The sea is a place of fun for most persons, whether they can swim or not.
It's therapeutic.
Yes. So what are some of the things that people need to be mindful of then when they're in the water to ensure their safety?
We look at 5 points. We ask you first to learn to swim. Know your limitations and do not underestimate the power of the water. Obey lifeguards at the beaches. Swim with the supervisors or lifeguards. And in general, be mindful of the fact that it's also a wilderness, it's a watery wilderness. Every beach is different. So what is the hazard at Browns Beach is not a hazard at Bartlett's Park, it's not a hazard at Crane. Crane, the onshore breeze is always wind, waves and current. This place, at Browns Beach, is a flat area, but a backing where we can bring Portuguese man of war in. The boats coming by could injure you, and if you're out at low tide and the tide goes high, it's to your chest. But at high tide it can be over your head, and if you can't really swim properly, you've got a problem. You yourself can be a hazard by wearing water-low clothing. If you're going swimming, we actually do swim in swimwear. So I want to go swimming, I have on 2 shirts, inside shirt, a polo shirt. I have a long slacks on, short pants beneath it, and a boxer with a belt. And when these clothing, when they become wet and saturated, it's wet for you.
So even it pulls you down.
Even your hair, when your hair gets wet, a lot of hair, it can actually interfere with your neck. It can also make your head heavy. So just be mindful of the fact that you need to be smart. We call it beach smart, water smart.
I know that for certain.
Yes.
Anyway, so if we do go into the water and somebody gets into difficulty, what are some of the things that individual can do to get themselves to a point of safety?
What we can do to get yourself to a point of safety, the first thing is to roll on your back. When you roll on your back, your mouth and nose, they're out of the water. So breathing is easier on your face than your mouth and nose in the water, and that's the gateway to your lungs for drowning. Roll on your back and use your arms and legs to scull or push or pull yourself to safety.
What should I do next?
Raise your hands.
Raise your hand.
Scull, bring the water to your feet, push the water to your feet, and try to get to a point where you can put your feet down. Once you can stand near the near shore, you can put your feet down, and once you can stand, you can walk out.
What happens to someone who is not a good lay floater? What should they do?
Still roll your back and use your hands, push the water to your feet and kick your legs. You say, ma'am, kick your legs, throw your arms. That helps to bring you to shore. It's movement, propulsion to get to the shoreline.
Another really useful technique is treading water. If done right, it will keep your head above the surface and allow you to stay in one general spot until help comes. But be warned, it can be tiring for inexperienced swimmers. Treading water is done in a vertical position.
In treading water, the principle is making your body as big as possible. You want to have your arms in the water, pressing down on the water, and your arms are going to be in the water at all times because your arms outside the water gives you no help. So your arms must be in the water. You're putting some sort of pressure on the water. There are many ways to do this. Some people flap, some people, we call this sculling, going back and forth while pushing pressure on the water. I find this to be the best in my opinion, but some people find different ways to do it. Now with the feet, people do it different ways. The most effective way is what we call egg beating. So you have your feet wide and you want to make clockwise and anti-clockwise movements for both legs. Knees up, legs wide apart, and you're going to be moving the leg in this direction. So imagine doing that with both legs.
Sea bathers are reminded to use their legs in the water.
Drowning people do not employ their legs. That's one of the problems. So they trash on the surface using the arms can't bear you up in the water, but if you open your legs and ride your bike, pedal bike action,
Like this?
yes, with the legs open, you start to tread water, and it gives you surface support, keeping your shoulders, keeping your head above the water. And you can call for help, because if you go underwater, you're going to hold your breath. When you come out the water, you're going to take the breath. You cannot pull the air in and speak. So it can be a very silent death if it happens to you. We were told that people go under 3 or 4 times. That's not always true. Some go under once and never surface again.
So what if someone gets exhausted after doing all these techniques?
If you get exhausted, remember, still roll on your back, because you want to maintain your mouth and nose out of water, and try to relax. When you relax, you bring yourself to the surface, what we call floating. And once you're floating, then you can get your breath back to call for help or move again.
It's important to remember that water safety begins before you even enter the sea. So Corey, tell me what type of flags we can expect to see on the beaches.
Well, you see, the yellow flag basically means caution. And when you see a yellow flag, it doesn't mean that the water is okay or safe. It means there's something happening with the condition of the water. It could be that there are lots of sea lice. It could mean that there are shore breaks. And these things could cause particular discomfort or danger to some individuals. So if you see the yellow flags, it means you have to look and proceed with caution while going in the water. The red flag, on the other hand, means there's no swimming. We see that there's significant danger enough to warrant that we want no one in the water. So that's the 2 flags in a nutshell.
And what should we assume if there's no flag?
Well, if there's no flag, it means that there is no danger that the lifeguard see at that particular point, but you should always go in the water with respect and caution. So if there's no flag, still proceed with caution.
What are some of the things you would like to see people do or stop doing to ensure that their water experience is as safe as possible?
Yeah, I see people bring flotation devices to the beach that are recommended for pools. And some of these flotation devices end up getting people in trouble. You know what I mean? If you can exercise a little bit more caution with these things, I can't tell people don't bring them all together. Some people are very responsible with them, but just know, especially parents, about these things.
Lifeguard instructor Dave Bascombe agrees with this advice. He has some additional recommendations.
I want to say this to parents especially. Lifeguards are not babysitters. If you bring your wards or your children to the beach, you look like them. Touch supervision, touch. If you're not within arm's reach, then your kid has gone too far. If his head goes underwater or her head, you need to pull them out of the water. So you should be mindful of that. You've got to be supervising, you've got to watch, you've got to anticipate. Kids, young children, don't know fear. It is a dangerous thing, and if they cannot swim, they can slip under silently and be lost in the crowd also. So please, he cannot swim, kindly buy a life jacket for him. Life jacket save lives. He's going to have the same bath in a jacket, and he would not go under with a jacket on. So I would say get your children swimming lessons, get them at lifeguarded beaches, and invest in a life jacket for those children until they can handle it on their own. Teens, you're not giving your testosterone, you're not changing your hormone level, especially the males between 16 and 35. They take risks, lots of risks because of the testosterone level. And they try to impress their peers, and they do not think that nothing can happen to them. Our drowning stats, rescue stats showed that demographic in trouble. Hence, over the years, I think 11 years now, the Lifeguard Service has run a program called Operation SOS, where we target school leavers and early adults. But it has now been extended from primary school to any age up. We try to run about 6 to 8 weeks of learn to swim and water safety so that they can be safe in and around water.
Sea bathers should also be aware of the dangers posed by natural and man-made hazards. You mentioned some of the natural hazards of the ocean, which include riptides and longshore drift. Could you explain how persons can navigate through those particular natural hazards?
The rip current, what we call riptide, is probably the most dangerous of the currents. You hear the word rip, it's the speed. The longshore drift current feeds this rip current between two sandbars or reef. Now the water going back to the ocean will go with speed because it's fed by those two currents. It's going to die anyway because it's a small volume of water feeding a large volume. Now if you try to get back where you were taken out, the current is so strong you really would get exhausted and you lose all of your strength and energy and you have to fight for your life there. Go with that current. It's going to die out to sea and come around the current. Or if you're a better swimmer, you go diagonal across the current. But never try to come back the same place the current sweeps you out. If you're not a very strong swimmer, you won't get it done. Get on your back if you get exhausted, take you out. It's going to calm, look for the shore and indicate for help. But don't try to come back against that current. Don't let me open any wounds. There's some places in the Barbados where that volume of water goes out to sea and it creates something called a rapid because the currents at that beach, they're coming from the harbor wall and from the north and they meet that stream of water coming out. On the inside of that stream is good, but if you get caught where those three currents meet, the natural current from the south, from the north, and the man-made one coming out of that current creates that rapid and drop off right there. Suddenly you're over your head. Suddenly you're being like a washing machine, churn and turn. You don't know you're up from down. That's the problem there.
Here are some additional water safety tips. Never dive in shallow water. Don't swim near pipes, rocks, breakwaters, and piers. Never swim on a full stomach, and avoid drinking alcohol and swimming. Corey and Dave both shared some additional beach safety tips.
Sometimes an individual can't shout when they're in trouble. So if you could alert a lifeguard if you see someone in trouble, all of these little things help. You know? So if you can't go yourself, and we recommend that you not go yourself, that you signal the lifeguard because sometimes we have a large land mass to cover before just two eyes. So if you could single, shout, anything to get our attention so that we could get that person in distress, that would be good.
Please obey lifeguards. Learn to swim, protect yourself, learn CPR, swim in line with the shore. Not even dolphins swim alone. We want to swim alone. And you don't have to swim to St. Lucia or St. Vincent to be swimming. As I said to you, if you go to the beach, swim in line with the shore, something happens, you can stand suddenly. You can put your feet down.
If you get into difficulty in the water, roll onto your back in a lay floating position. Propel your arms and kick your legs, and use your voice to shout for help. Remember, we live on an island, so it's extremely important to know how to swim. And when next you come to the beach, practice these life-saving techniques. Until next time, bye-bye.